Did we Africans contribute to the slave trade? And the question is the slave trade still happening? Today, I visited the slave trade castle in Cape Coast, Ghana, and what I saw, oh my God, it was sad. If there's a word sadder than sad, like, I will use that word. Where freedom and human dignity was lost, where lives were humiliated. Oh, if only the walls could speak. Look, this video is not to preach hatred, cause discrimination, or cause division amongst any group, or point accusing fingers, but to send one message, which is enough is enough. Enough is enough, not just to slavery, not just to selling ourselves as Africans. Enough is enough to human injustice happening around us. So let's take a tour around this castle to see where some of us Africans, of course our ancestors, were kept and the ill human treatment that was given to them during the slave trade.
There are over 60 floating castles in West Africa. Ghana alone has more than 40. Out of the 40, we have 3 castles. First is the Elmina Castle built by the Portuguese in the year 1482. Second is the Christian Castle in Swakra.
The male slave dungeon has 5 chambers. In every chamber, it was estimated that it held between 150 to 200 men. That is to say,
In here, 200 men.
Yes. Wow. That is to say, once you have all 5 chambers full together, a number ranging from 700 to 1,000 spread across the 5 chambers. What we see up here will be the only source of light and ventilation for the men in this chamber. Yes, that is why. If we could hide our flash, we get to have a feel of it.
Wow. Okay.
Let's be the room for the aggressive ones. So if you're too aggressive, you're held locked up in here. Down here, they did everything. You urinate here, defecate.
That's what faces the system for, right?
Sure. So we expect rain to move through the plate, washing away the feces and the urine, the trenches we see in the middle, as well as the areas right down into the sea. The question is, how many times does it rain in a week? How many times does it rain in a month? Having to be living in their mess, most of them will fall sick, most of them will die. As an enslaved African, once you are found dead in these dungeons, the bodies were carried down straight into the sea. That is to say, no enslaved African got a befitting burial here in the castle. Once you are found dead in here, the body goes straight into the sea. Reading literature about the trade, we get to know a little over 12.5 million West Africans are estimated to have survived the trade. By getting no times 3 million number we hear pertaining survival were the casualties. So if 12.5 million survived, over 30 million did not. Yet this trade at a point in time will become so lucrative that the Europeans begin to fight amongst themselves, killing each other to take charge of our land. As the tour progresses, you get to know the land this castle sits on would exchange hands 5 different times. In the year 1974, we'd have a group of archaeologists from the University of Ghana coming here to excavate this place. It is only then they will get to know the initial floors of these dungeons are made of bricks. You realize you are standing on bricks today?
Yeah.
This is what we meet prior to that. Coming here before this is what you see. The dark parchment we see here After tests conducted, they will get to know what we see here is solidified or compacted or human waste. As I say, this is tears, blood, sweat, urine, feces, vomit, sputum, among other things left in here. So they will leave this portion intentionally unexcavated, as well as the other chambers, so that if we have doubters amongst our groups, they are permitted to have samples tested themselves to see if there are traces of human being in them. The first of 5 chambers of the male slave landing. Do we have any questions? Alright, so from this end downwards, we'll be working on compacted human waste. Alright, let's see the other chamber.
So here is compacted human waste.
We have the third chamber. Where we are at the third chamber. Right on top of this very chamber is the church, Society for the Propagation of the Gospel. That's the Church of England, present day Anglican Church. This is a spire that sits right in front of the church. It is to say, before you enter the church to pray, to listen to love your neighbor as yourself. Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not commit adultery. You see some of the neighbors down there, you hear them cry, perceive their stench before you enter that church to pray. Some of the neighbors were being killed in the castle, others were being raped. And it would be interesting to know that for close to 50 years we have an African ministering to an all-European congregation up in that church, as fellow Africans like himself died right beneath him. So once upon a time, for 50 years we have a black man preaching to the European up in that church, as his brothers died right beneath him. The third chamber of the male slave landing. I know if we have any question right now, it will be centered around Africa. My first presentation outside will be about it. Let's see the last chamber of the male slave landing. So here we have the fifth. You realize that in this chamber, there are no lights, no bulbs, but the place is still bright. This was left so for the sorting out of the slaves. I mentioned earlier they were branded with hot metal. So this is where they would sort them out for shipment. From this end to that end was an entrance to a tunnel that connected to the door of no return. There the women joined them for shipment. It was sealed in the year 1834, supervised by Captain George McLean to mark the end of the trade here in the castle. The trade was abolished in the year 1807. They were still trafficking human beings. So to mark the end of the trade here in the castle, they would have to seal the tunnel. You see reeds to my right. These reeds are brought in by tourists to pay respect to those that died here in the islands. Though their bodies were dumped in the sea, we believe their souls remain here in the castle. That's why we keep them here. So now let you see a room. This was left as such before shipment if you are considered 2 weeks sick and not fit for the voyage. You were unshackled and left in there. If you die, the body goes straight into the sea. If you survive, then wait for the next available shipment. Your survival in there was dependent on your immune system. If this was an entrance to a tunnel, why we are here? Where we stand today is a shrine. This is the altar of the leader of the 77 deities of Cape Coast. Cape Coasters believe in 77 gods. This is the leader. The name of the god is Nana Chabo. Where we stand was a resting place of a big stone. The castle sits on a stone. This stone is what the natives here worshipped before the Europeans came. Prior to the coming of the Europeans, Africans knew God. We worship God through trees, stones, rivers, among other living things. And this stone is what the natives here worshipped. As the chiefs of the land gave this portion to the Europeans, those who worshipped that stone would carve 2 portions of the rock, perform certain rituals with the belief that they were relocating their God from this end. They would take back these stones into the township to continue with their worship. While the trade ended and the castle was given back to them yet, those who worship the stone would see it wise to return their God to its initial spots. So to date, this is an active shrine. Unfortunately, your group missed the chief priest is here from Monday to Sunday. You see some schools around. Those who come here to pray, as well as to consult the priest, use them once they come here. Sometimes you see money, toffee, among other gifts on the stone. Those who still believe in the African traditional form of worship, once they come here to pray, with the belief that whatever prayers and petitions they came here to offer to their God is answered, they drop those things as an offering to God. Here in Cape Coast, every first Saturday of September, we have a rich, cultural, colorful, traditional festival here, fit to a fashion. Before they commence, they also believe in that worship, slaughter a sheep, a ram for the God before they commence. So those who still believe in that form of worship still use the place as their place of worship. The fake chamber of the Bible still there. Do we have interest? Alright, let's move outside.
So, you see, we spent a little over 10 minutes down in Dungeness. Coming back, we see the impact the sun has on our eyes.
Yeah.
That explains why some historians believe some left here partially or permanently blind. Here at the courtyard was the graveyard for the Europeans. I mentioned down there that the enslaved African was dumped in the sea once were found dead in the castle. This is where they would bury the Europeans. So where we stand is a cemetery for the Europeans. In the year 1996, they would excavate this portion as well. After excavations, they found just 4 marked graves. So my presentation will be centered on just 4 graves. This happens to be the only African buried amongst them here. His name is Philip Kweku. Philip was a native of the Fanta land by the name Kweku Echu. He was born to Obrimpon Kuju, a local slave merchant. So Philip's father was one of the Africans selling fellow Africans to the Europeans. Through the connections his father had with them, he would get the chance to study in Great Britain. Philip would read theology in Oxford University. Age 24, he would be the first black man to be ordained an Anglican priest. Age 25, he would return to Gold Coast to serve in the castle as a reverend minister. So close to 50 years, this is he, that African, who will be ministering to an all-European congregation up in this church as his brothers died right great. 1816, age 75, Philip died. But in history has it that before his death, treatment for him in the castle was not as it used to. The allowances was not coming as regular as he used to. Philip would have to be moving out of the castle for commerce. Through that, he would introduce the natives as to how to read, write, and speak the English language. Western form of education in Ghana is attributed to him. Just 5 minutes drive from the castle, the first school in Gold Coast in honor of him for the Black boys. To some historians, Philip was brainwashed. He was taken from Gold Coast age 11. Spent 14 years elsewhere. So to them, they reprogrammed his mind. That explains why an African will stand before an all-European congregation to minister to them. Though Philip was the king of an African, up here he felt European. He felt like one of them. That is why he ministered to them. And there's this other school of thought that says 14 years is too short a time for one to totally and completely forget his roots and its identity as an African. I side with them. And indeed, 14 years is too short to absolutely forget your roots. But the other time I met a group of tourists that told me that travel to Europe just after 2 years, they give more European than they themselves. The 14 years to them was ample time for them to have a program, judging from the age of 11 years was too young. So 14 years was enough for them to have done whatever they wanted. But then I still stand my ground. I mean, Philip was conscious. But I see it was one man against an entire system. What could he have done about it? That is one. And two, it is the same trade that would profit him, get him the chance to study elsewhere. Who are you to come back to fight against it? So to me, perhaps he was very little by the name C.B. Whitehead. C.B. Whitehead was a lawyer. He became an officer in the British Army. So the trade at a point in time became so lucrative that they would begin to fight among themselves. I mentioned that the land the castle sits on exchanged hands 5 times. First to be here, Portugal, Sweden, King, Denmark, Netherlands, and finally Great Britain.
I got a quick question for you.
Yeah.
What do you think was the defining factor? I think I know the answer between why it exchanged 5 European hands before African pulled back.
I'm not getting there. You're asking.
In other words, how could a European come to Africa? That's like somebody coming to my house and says, "This is my house." What could
usually the answer I give to that, I was even going to talk about that as the talk progressed. I always say, to me, we suffer from this imperialist mentality, and it is still something that disturbs us as Africans. I was going to talk about that as we get to where they built the castle, because the castle was built on the holy grounds of the people.
Right.
You would ask yourself, why would the chiefs there give their most sacred ground out? And I always answer to this question as imperialist mentality, and we still suffer from that. That we receive blindly everything from the West, seeing that to be superior to us.
Yeah.
And I think as the tour progresses, it would come in. And then soon, sometimes we still see the black man as his own enemy. Sorry for saying that. Africans today, there is no unity.
I was gonna say the difference between Africans and the Europeans was they had gunpowder.
Most definitely, that also came in.
Because usually, you know, for you to take over a place, you have to be able to defeat them.
Most definitely. And the funny thing, in what more time, they would partner African chiefs. That was also going to come in during my invasion. That they would partner with the chiefs and empower them with the superior weapon. So at a point in time, it was Africans welding the gun and gunpowder. But then they were using that to fight amongst themselves.
The same slave mentality in America.
The land,
like overseas.
Most definitely. So then fight amongst yourselves, capture the land, take charge of the land, since that is what you need, and in exchange bring us the captives of war. So it'll get to a time they empowered some of the Africans with guns. But that is not to fight against them. It is to fight amongst themselves.
Because if they united, they could just turn around and got them out of here.
Yeah, so greed, imperialist mentality, it would come in as the tour progresses. Yeah. So Portugal came, Sweden, Denmark, Netherlands, and finally Great Britain. They were the first to be here. We attribute this edifice to them. Why? They inherited a fortified trade post, then we erect this edifice. And once they took charge of as the tour progresses, I'll tell you why they stayed here for that long. It is believed that in one of the Anglo-Dutch wars, they struggled with the Dutch. He was shot dead, aged 38. Here we have the condemned cell. We'll go inside. I would entreat you to watch your head. I don't want anyone to carry the castle, so please watch your head as we enter. Let's go inside. Or watch your head. Watch your head as we enter. Every door and window in the castle has been replaced. What we see outside is the only original door of the castle. And it's made of pitch pine and covered with copper, making it very thick. If you know your wood, you know pitch pine is one of the strongest woods in the world. 3 of such doors. The first one outside, the second in the middle, the third here. We are here a little over a minute, you can already feel the heat in here. Yeah. Imagine those left in here with all the 3 doors shut. They were to die of starvation and suffocation. Who are those brought in here? Those considered rebellious. So if you're too aggressive, you are locked up in the first chamber. But if you exceeded the aggression, you tried to escape, you fought the officers, you saw yourself a freedom fighter giving them a hard time. You are first given a good beating at the courtyard and brought in here, left to die. The most painful bit of it is if at any point in time they brought a number of people in here, unless the last man amongst them dies, nobody leaves this room. That is to say, if you were strong and resilient enough to stay alive for days, you would have to be enjoying the stench of rotten and decaying corpse till you die yourself. They are then dragged outside, displayed at the courtyard for those too stubborn to be brought back up to see what happens to those they cannot contain. So this was designed in a way to serve as a deterrent to the living and as well break them mentally. Wow. You see, because of the living conditions, the rebellions will be rampant, so they have to institute a punishment scheme to calm them down. We thank God no one is dying here today. We'll hire to move outside, but please watch your head. Please watch your head.
Let me get to the video of this place. Oh, crazy. Sorry.
We've seen where the enslaved African lived in the castle. Now we'll go up quickly to have a quick look at where
this metal or
yeah, it's copper. What is pitch pine covered with copper.
In this particular room, I felt so horrible because you can imagine a room with 3 doors, and there was no light in that place at all. Like, that place is extremely dark. You're seeing lights there because there's electricity connected to that room currently. But if they put off the electricity, you see how dark, like very, very dark that place is. No window, there's no single hole on the wall in this particular room. No single form of ventilation, no light from anywhere, no food, no water. They just keep you there to starve you to death, to make sure you die. Because tell me, how do you survive without food for days, without water for days, without light, without air?
have a Palava Hall. The Palava Hall served basically as a slave market here in Castle. So this is where they would first bring them to be categorized into domestic and commercial schools, and then they were auctioned. Back then, goods exchanged hands. So it was a barter system. Here, a full-grown man can be paraded. They would have the merchants bid mirror, whist, gunpowder, tobacco, and it is left to the reader to exchange with his captive what he saw first, exchanging them. It is in the same room that would house the 8 Fanti chiefs, together with Commander Hill, to sign the bond of 1844 that would usher Ghana its colonial regime. It was to last 100 years, but it would take us extra 13 years to move out of that regime. So to Ghana, 113 years to move out of that regime. Everything in here has been replaced. The only original portions of this room net are the dark ends of the roof. They are the only original portions of the room net.
Okay. Yeah.
Let's see where it's up now. That the castle exchange hands, the land exchange has 5 times. Great Britain were the 5th to be here, but they will stay with us from 1664 up until 1960. Let's turn to look up on top of the hill there. We see a wide structure with a brown roof way up the hill there. Yes, that is Fort William. I'll show you Fort Victoria as we move down. Great Britain had 2 watchtowers. They built 2 security points for the castle. They had William and Victoria to serve as security towers to overlook land and sea for this castle. Once they saw enemy ships coming from the sea or intruders from the land, in the mornings they would use red flags to alert the castle. Afternoons, reflections from mirrors. Evenings, torch. Soldiers here picking up these signals would mount the cannon guns seen spread around the castle, load them with gunpowder, pushing in the cannonballs and lighting fire at the back. A shot perforating holes in the incoming ships. The big ones travel as far as 800 meters. The middle ones 400. The short ones is the deadliest of it all. That one travels just 100 meters. But that one has a ball with a hole inside, loaded with gunpowder. Those ones hit and they explode. So if you're able to maneuver your way to the shore, you are met with a mortar. That explains why they stayed here for that long. Because once they took charge of this land, they made sure the place was heavily guarded, heavily fortified. Here at the art shop was the barracks or the garrison for the soldiers. The center part, their canteen. This at a point in time would be a prison yard here in Ghana. But it would get to a time people would start to agitate. How can they enslave Africans in this building? They would hold our ancestors captive in here, and in this same building, they would imprison Ghanaians. So the agitations, they would have to relocate to the prisons. So before the Ankafo and the Nsawam prisons, this end at a point in time would be a prison yard for Ghana. You still see the coat of arms right at the entrance. Today, it is an art shop. The center part is the coffee shop of the castle. Right. Now let's move straight to the governor's room. So, at every point in time, we had one man in charge of the castle, one man running the bed and preaching the castle. This happens to be the living room for one man. We saw the male slave down there. I don't know if you're able to count the number of openings on the walls. From the 1st to the 5th has a total of 9. So 9 small openings on the walls, 7 as light and ventilation for between 700 to 1,000 men. If you count the windows up here, we'd see 9. Just one man. Let's see his spread. Counting the windows up here, 5. Make it 14. As we step out, we will count extra 2, totaling 16. So one man will be up here enjoying 16 big windows. As between 700 to 1,000 men down there, 9 openings in the walls. I would say it speaks to the power play. Who was up here having this heaven-like feeling? They were down there rotting in hell. They worshipped right on top of this, and the castle itself was built on their god. Let's go down to see portions of the stone they built the castle.
Is this not sad?
I mentioned that they had 2 watchtowers for the castle. Look up on top of it, in the bush there. You see another white structure up in the bush there. That is the second watchtower for the castle. That's Fort Victoria. So Fort William, Victoria. For a clear view, just stand here, look through the swimming here. It points straight to that fort. So a soldier is stationed, you realize it points straight to the fort. The soldier is stationed here to pick up signals from that fort as well.
Like a mirror or something like that.
This will be a communication. Oh, okay. The castle was built. You realize the castle was built on a stone. This rock is what the people here shaped prior to the coming of the Europeans. It brings us to the question: if this was your most sacred ground, why would you give it out? Right. That is what we're talking about here. The very first day I met this question, I had to see my boss. He said greed. But I would embark on a research myself. I'm still even working on that because I still don't understand if this is your place of worship, most sacred ground.
Don't sit right with
why
your soul,
would
right?
you
Don't sit right
give
with
it
your
out?
soul.
So he mentioned greed. But then when I decided to embark on mine, the answer I gave imperialist mentality. And it is something we still suffer from as Africans. You see, Ghana is a secular state, not a religious state. I always say unfortunately because I don't understand. Religion is a matter of choice, but unfortunately, Ghanaians or Ghana has over 78% of its population being Christians. It is a matter of choice, so I don't really care about that. But I see the European that brought you that religion, Christianity, spent at most 3 hours, in church. They are done. They go to church 7 a.m., latest by 9:30 p.m. They are done. Welcome to Ghana, a country that embraced that religion. We have a Christian going to church 7 in the morning, 6 p.m. they are still in church. There is a church just 5 minutes walk from the class. Monday to Sunday, every hour of the day. Listen to what I said. Monday to Sunday, at every hour of the day, there are church services ongoing there. A waste of productive hours. How can you be in church from Monday to Sunday? But if you talk about that, you are said to be a devil. I don't know when last any of you saw the African traditional form of prayer being said at any of our state functions. When? You see, one of the days we used to see the women pour libations and everything during a set match. Every state function we pray the African way before it started. From 2009, it has been outlawed. Why? Because the president that came is a Christian and felt like this should not be a practice until now. Not see the African form of prayer any of our functions. I have this professor back from campus, University of Ghana. If there is any program we attend and you ask us to stand free, first raise the hand and ask you, are we going to say, yeah, probably praying a Christian prayer, but are we going to pour like this after or pray the African way? As soon as you say no, we'd have to sit to start the program. If you decide to pray and go ahead with it, it means you don't need him around. Because as soon as you do that, it's going to work out. Then it's either we pray our own prayers or just forget the prayer and then just start it. I'm saying this because Ghana seems to Africans today, imperialist mentality. They seem to embrace everything we receive, putting aside ours. That explains why we as Africans would outlaw our own form of prayer in any of our state functions. You cannot pour libation in any state function today. But every state function, we say the Christian prayer, they would add a Muslim, if any. So to me, imperialist mentality comes in hand. The weapons of theirs was superior, but it got with time they empowered some Africans with those guns. And with that, we could probably have fought off them. There's a saying that came during slavery, colonial time, and it's still an adage here in the Akan speaking community. I'll first say it in Fanti, those who understand, now I'll translate it to you later. Once they say, there's an adage here in Ghana that if you are going to church and you're on your way, it's a wise one, go back home first. I'm telling you that is how
you've seen God. If you are going
and there is an adage here in Ghana. That if you are going to church and see a white man,
Is that real or joke?
that is how they saw them then.
As
it has
God.
been handed down. It is still an addict.
Some of Ghanaians.
Some
Yeah, you worship them.
hold, yes, we hold them in high esteem. That is why I'm saying the imperialist mentality. To that we see everything there superior to ours, to the extent of religion. We outlaw our own practices, saying that probably we see them to be barbaric and all those things. If you choose to pour libation, probably always dress in an African, you are seen to backwards or primitive. That is how we see ourselves today. Right. Let's see the church right on top of the Muslim Nile. From this, where this is situated, before you enter this church to pray, to listen to loud your neighbor. No, the spy hole. So before you would enter, you would actually see some of the slaves down here. You would hear them cry. You would see their stench before you would enter here to pray. I always ask, what kind of God were you even going to worship in here in the first place? Knowing what lies right beneath you. What's about it to be a Christian then? Every time I get here, my conscience will drive me back. Right. This will double as a classroom block for the mulattoes. So the children born out of the rape will be educated here in the church. Today it is a children's library. It is open after school hours for the kids in the community to come read once they're down in school. We'll move straight to the female slave dungeons, then the door of return. Here we have a reservoir. This was connected to the roofs. So rain was harvested from the roofs and kept it there. This is what they would use to cook for the slaves, give them to drink, and as well bathe the women before they were raped. Men in the castle were raped. I'll be talking about the rape as we move into the female slave dungeon. Today it is still serving as a reservoir. Now it is connected to the national grid. So where the spy-borne water we pump in here. This is what we put for our washrooms once we short water. So where we stand is not an entrance, neither is it an exit. Once I give you the chance to see, if you go too deep, you can fall. So you just stand here, have a quick look, then you come back. Better so just be here and look down. Don't go too deep lest you fall. So just stand here and have a quick look. Let me tell you what happened here. So a soldier was just stationed here to have a head count for the slaves to confirm that right from the pit chamber, where was the entrance of the tunnel, right through that end to the door of no return. I mentioned that where the shrine is now was an entrance to the tunnel. These are just portions of the underground tunnel. You can imagine passing close to 1,000 men through the courtyard. If they decided to misbehave, you cannot contain them. So during shipment, they would use the door, the underground tunnel, right straight to the door of no return. So it's just here to have a head count to confirm that we're moving through. Right.
So he will be standing here.
Yes, just to count them. Yeah. All right. The down end where they're going through the warehouses, they kept the. Here we have the exit point of the underground tunnel. From the fifth chamber, this is where they came out from. Sealed 8 meters for just like the entrance to mark the end of the tree. Then here we have the initial door of no return. Something very small the enslaved and accountable would have bent down the passengers one at a time. This was sealed from here. Yes. This was sealed because the sea sit right behind the castle. The waves were coming into the rock business. He had sealed this end to relocate to the door of no return. Let's go to the door of no return. Female punishment cell. This is designed to punish the women that resisted the rape. If you are taken inside for the abuse, you do not allow yourself. You are brought in here, locked up, fed once a day through the door for some time. And if after a while you still have not given in, you see the cannonballs out there, they're very small sizes. Trust me, very small but very heavy. I doubt any man here can hold 3 at a time for 30 minutes without resting. It is next to what's very heavy. A woman is ordered to carry 3. And what's known with it, if any should fall, she's consented to rape. That is to say, no candidate of rape was ever able to escape the abuse once singled out. Because regardless of what you did, they were able to have their own. The punishment cell for those that resisted the rape. And let's get to the And here we have the female slave dungeons. They have 2 holding cells for the women. This is the first one. The second one right opposite us. Similar conditions that in men. Between 150 to 200 men held in. They did everything down here. And I always used to say to me, treatment for the women was worse if you compare it to the men. You see, putting aside the fact that they were raped, women menstruate monthly. And if you're a woman held in here for 4 months, you'd have to repeat that cycle 4 different times. Picture a lady today in the era of sanitary wear, flowing heavily in the course of the day, not getting a chance to take a shower. The discomfort she will feel. Then revisit someone here the first month, between 5 to 7 days, and the flow, second, third, probably fourth. Remember, the only chance you got for a shower in the castle was that you were a candidate for rape. I'm not saying rape is good, but just assuming you are in here for 4 months and no one finds you attractive enough for that. I'm not saying it is good though, but then being here 4 months, no form of shower. I mentioned around the world they had to clean them first before they are used because they will not stand the stench emanating from them. If women in the castle were raped, they were found ladies, but they were not coming here with their women. That is it, they were not coming here with their women. That it does not justify the rape. Yes. So those found pregnant in here, I used fortunate for them, was they were taken outside the castle into brick houses they had. They took good care of them until they delivered. They were made to breastfeed their babies for some time. Then the babies were taken from them. They were returned to the dungeons to await shipments. These babies were considered theirs. So they were kept and educated in the church up on top of the new slave dungeon. I mentioned that the church doubled as a classroom block for that. The question was, who are those compensated once the trade was abolished? Was it the slaves themselves or slave masters? Slave masters were compensated because they were seen to have lost their businesses. They are taking food right from their table. They were compensated. Up until now, there is a call for reparation. Just like that. Just 2 years ago, the president of Ghana joined that call. You see, if you read How Europe Underdeveloped Africa by Walter Rodney, there's still this conception that Africa still suffers the impact of the transatlantic slave trade. There's this belief that a chunk of the human population was uprooted from Africa, and for any nation to develop, human resource comes in handy. To that effect, Africans deserve to be compensated. While the president mentioned that call for reparation, I had a conversation with my boss. I was like, to me, compensation should go to Africans in the diaspora because they happen to be the direct descendants of the slaves. I don't know if you agree with me. But then, as I said, that he would argue from a different point of view. So bring my mind to the fact that what happened to those they left behind, the families of those they left behind. We needed the able-bodied men. So what happened to the families of those captured? Putting that aside, for any nation to develop human resource, and if a chunk of them was uprooted from Africa, Africa could have been better off had it not been the transatlantic slave trade. So to them, Africans here also deserve to be compensated. I was like, fine. But to me, first, it could be split into 2 folds. But the first should go to those in the diaspora. Because like it or not, these are the direct descendants. The ones to be allocated Africans can be, to me, should be directly invested in infrastructure, among others. So that we, the citizens here, would feel and benefit from it firsthand. Trust me, I'm not proud saying this, but the crop of leadership spread across Africa today. Give them 5 castles full of money each. They'll find ways to misappropriate those funds they will not be able to account.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, corruption in Africa today.
That's true.
Once you walk through this law as an enslaved African, you also rise as a criminal. You lose your dignity as a man, you lose your roots as an African, your identity as an African as well. Once you pass through this law, you became someone else's property. And what the person sees fit doing with you is what the person does. The Africans bore and ancestor names that told stories. Our names spoke history. Our names could easily distinguish between royalty and the peasant. Your name could easily direct one as to the clan, ethnic group, or tribe you belong to. Before the tour started, I said my name is Nana Paul Apia. If you know the naming systems of Ghanaians very well, you can easily tell I'm a fancy. Here in Ghana, you hear a name like Tendana, the person is a royal from the north. You hear Ayite, Ajete, the person is a Ghan. Esnam, Etunam, and Efe. Boatin, Kwatin, Tremantin, and Asante. Passing through this law, you lost those names. They call you what they choose to call you, you have to answer those names. Then you lose your tongue. Once you're sold to an Englishman, you have to learn to speak English. Sold to a Frenchman to do the same. He communicates with you in his tongue, not yours. You have to be responsive to his command.
gradually your identity as an African is shelved. Why do I say you lose your root? You see, women were added to the trade for procreation. At a point in time, human beings were forced to mate. Mating is too strong a word for man, but I use mating because as a man paired to a woman, or as a woman paired with a man, it was not necessarily because we're sexually attracted to each other. You saw a well-built stature, a TikTok figure, it has to pair. They wanted offspring society, so being paired, the act needs to happen for children to come as a result of that. A simple assumption. A Yoruba man captured from present-day Nigeria amongst the group, claiming he remembers vividly where he was captured. He's just too old to return. I was captured from the Fantaland here in Ghana. My child going to that old man because his name is Blanks or DeGraft. I am DeGraft or Blanks. Thinking that man is his great grandfather. He is able to get an accurate direction. We thank God we are not slaves. We walk through the door of no return, certainly to return. Let's see what lies beyond the door.
Crazy.
So this is what lies beyond the door of no return. To my left, we see some rocks there. Very recent. This is a little over 3 years old. Because of sand waning activities in the area, the sea was gradually entering the township. So this is an initiative by the government to curb that menace. Where we stand was a rocky and a shallow coast. The big ships they came with could not come ashore. They had to dock very far from shore and come here with boats and canoes for the slaves. You see, Africans have a belief in reincarnation. We have this belief that once you die, you have a chance for living to come back to life in another way. History says, with that belief in mind, some of the slaves would choose death over captivity, with the belief that once they died here on their land, they had a chance for it. So sailing to the ships, they decide to jump overboard, killing themselves. History says, indeed, some chose to die, others were just unfortunate to have been bounded together with those that chose to die. So once those ones decide to jump overboard, unfortunately, they drag along with them. Those try to get out with them. Right. But then once you made it successfully to the ships, your cargo shells like head to then their voyage. Let's turn to look up here. We see the door of return. We have this year doing our first emancipation day celebrating the house. Our former president, Jürgen Wallace, traveled to the Caribbean. There you got to know they have this celebration called emancipation. From Amsterdam, they will bring these skeletons back to the sea. Right through the sea. They chose the sea because the sea is the same route these slaves were taking through. So bringing them back, they saw it wise to return them to the sea. Jamaica and Europe. Those that came from Jamaica came with the skeleton. The woman called Madam Peace. I'll show you some more about this is right once you're done. Passing them through the door was to send a message to every black man out there in the world. There's this belief that wherever you are on earth, the fact that you black, you are from us. Passing them through this door was to send a message to our brothers and sisters. Feel free to come back home. Feel free to reconnect with your roots, etc. Then they will hold a special.
I shed tears in this particular dungeon, in the female dungeon. I could imagine myself as a woman going through my menstrual cycle without having my bath. Oh my God. I'm just imagining the itch. Like, how did they survive? No bath. You only get the opportunity to have your bath if someone finds you attractive to rape you. Like, rape is a good thing. Woo! I'm just imagining people that died from infections, people that died from sexual harassment, because I'm sure they were not kind to them during the rape. I'm just trying to imagine a whole lot of things. I'm like, why will a fellow human being be this wicked to the next person? But like I said, let's try to put our emotions in check. It is past already. Now we have the present and the future. What are we doing? What are we doing to change the narrative, even within we Africans? Because you can't tell me that Africans didn't contribute to this. We enabled them. Okay, you know, Africans even practiced slavery before the Europeans came, but ours was not this cruel. Like, I mean, people take other people's kids into their homes and, They work as their slaves, but at the end of the day, they get one thing or the other, or maybe get one favor or the other from them. So I guess our forefathers thought the Europeans, the slavery meant the same thing for them, not knowing that it was a totally different ball game. So what I'm saying is, let's forget the past. It's okay for us to know our past. It's okay for us to know what happened. Marcus Garvey said, a people without the knowledge of their past history, origin, and culture is like a tree without roots. So it's good that we know what happened in the past, but let us not use our past to determine our future. What can we do? What can we change? What can we do better? How can we treat others? How can we come together and collaborate and make things work without having to inflict pains on others? Without having to be tribalistic, to be racist, to discriminate? I mean, what is the way forward? This is not to preach discrimination. This is just to let us know, to educate us. This is what happened, and if you were the one in these shoes, how would you feel? If you was a family member in that condition, how would you feel? So why treat your fellow human being like that? Remember, the person you're treating badly comes from a home. They come from a family. They are human beings. So how do we treat our fellow human beings? Let's stop racism. Let's stop tribalism. Let's stop treating others like they don't matter. Let's stop treating people because they are not of the same skin color with you. We are all human beings. That is all that matters. Let's stop injustice happening around us. This is the message for this video. This is just to show you how wicked human beings can be. But then, to tell you that you can be different. You don't need to be this wicked to your fellow human being to succeed. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. I know it was not a happy one because it stirs up so many negative emotions, I tell you. But trust me, we will be fine as long as we are on the right track. See you again in my next video. I remain Star Africa. Please give me a like button if you enjoyed watching this video. Subscribe to my channel and look forward to my other content. And please watch my videos, engage in my videos, and I'm in the comment section waiting for you. Bye.